Well, hi there guys and girls. Good to be back, still in lockdown. But anyway, this is the first camera I've reviewed for quite a while, and it's a new camera from Akaso. I've reviewed loads of their cameras on my channel, and they've all been good value for money, good quality video, good support, and so on. So let's see what's new about this, the Brave 6 Plus, which is very new. First thing I notice is complete change in packaging. This was the V50 Elite from Akaso, and as you can see, in a kind of presentation box which didn't travel very well, and mostly I have seen these arrive with the camera falling out. This is completely repackaged. Wasn't sure how to get it out of the box, to be honest. I thought, oh, slide this out, but anyway, I digress. The way you open it is slide this off, and then you've got this nice little box with a magnetic catch and the camera and accessories. So the first thing to notice is it's a complete redesign of waterproof case. As you can see here, V50 Elite, scrolling buttons, touchscreen and 4K, but scrolling buttons on the side. This, it appears, has got scrolling buttons on the top, shutter there, power there, which is the same, but side catch and so on. But anyway, we'll take a closer look. What else have you got here? You've got accessories, and for some reason they've split into bags, 1, 2 and 3. I've already seen there's a manual online, and looking in here you can see there's a Wi-Fi app. I think it's called Akaso Go. It looks to me like the full manual is online. I'll put a link to that down below. So you've got leaflets. One thing to mention is straight away, it's a 4K camera, it's got voice control, comes with 2 batteries and external charger, and it's got a wrist remote. The other thing to mention is touchscreen, native 4K, gyro stabilization. I'll go into more of that when we actually come to take a better look at it. What else have we got? Looks to me like the usual run of accessories. Very neat in the box here. Yeah, you've got handlebar mount, you've got these stick-on mounts that you can put on a skateboard or helmet, strap there so that you can strap these mounts on. You've got what's called a backpack clip, so you can put it in an open frame, which is there. You don't always get those. So a good range of accessories. Tripod mounts. If you're not familiar with the way these things work, and I know there are some people who aren't familiar with how action cameras work, it's a question of sticking these on to whatever you want to put it onto, helmet, skateboard. Put together a mount with one of these gadgets that slides in, and then you attach the waterproof case with these kind of standoff things. Simple as that. I mentioned 2 batteries. I shall get this on charge. Well, let's get it out of the case. I mentioned straight off it's got a side clip. Now you do have to be very careful with these kind of cases, especially when cameras are new, because they've got this watertight gasket here which exerts a lot of pressure on the clip. So always give it a bit of a squeeze when you release. And likewise, even more important, when you do it up, give the case a squeeze, otherwise you're liable to break the clip. So let's get it out. Case looks nicely made. I'll put on the screen there what it's supposed to be waterproof to, probably 20 or 30 meters, more than you'd ever want anyway. So the camera. Well, first off, this is a complete redesign of any camera I've seen as well. For a start, without looking at the manual, battery goes in the end as opposed to underneath. I see you've got an SD card slot there. I haven't read the manual yet, bear in mind. You've got a little cover here that covers micro USB for plugging in, charging and retrieving files, or of course you could always take out the card and put it in a card reader. And you've got USB-C. That looks like a little speaker. Hopefully it's got some LEDs to show when it's working or not. That's a little microphone. Anyway, what I'm going to do is put it on charge, put the battery in, and then we take a closer look, and maybe I'll take a slightly closer look at that. Oh, got another little bag here. What have we got here? Oh, it's so exciting, it's like Christmas. What have we got? Well, we've got some cable ties, spare sticky pads for these things, because once Once you pull them off, if you want to stick it somewhere else, you'd need a new pad. And you've got two backs, one of which is ventilated, and I'll show you how you change the backs later in the video. Right, so let's get the battery in. It's got a little arrow on it there, so slide that way. You can see the pins in there, so the battery goes in that way. I know my hands look shaky, it's because it's hard working in front of a camera. So that's battery in, slide the catch back over. Let's just see if there's any juice in it to start with. Oh, there is some juice in it. And obviously it has got an LED. I bet you anything you like, pound to a penny, that flashes when it's recording. So no SD card. Yeah, I've got a sort of card. It takes up to 64 gig, and they recommend class 10 at least. Ah, and I forgot one notable thing to mention with this. Apart from wrist remote and voice command, this is capable of having an external mic, which is also a very useful thing. I get asked about that a lot, people that like to motorcycle vlog and so on. So I'm going to put it on charge. I'll be back to you in a second. Don't go away. Right, well, as you can see, USB-C is plugged in, and there's a red light on the front here. I'm not sure how long it takes to charge, but probably a good couple of hours if from flat. And the light goes out once it's fully charged. And cameras always charge more quickly when they're turned off. I'll be back in a while. Don't go away. Right, the camera. Well, before I go into a long explanation about how you actually use it, you don't need to read anything at all. Don't be put off by the great big long explanation about settings and so on. Out of the box, put the battery in, charge the camera, put a suitable card in and fire it up in default mode. 3-second press of the button. Plays a tune, and default is 4K at 30 frames a second. Press the shutter, get a beep, it's recording. Can you see the light flashing there? Plus there's a light flashing on the front to tell you it's recording. Press the shutter again, it stops. If you want to take a photograph, swipe the screen, it's now in camera mode. Press the shutter, click, it's taken a picture. That's how easy it is. If you want to go further, swipe it again and back out of it. If you want to go further, you've got settings there, you've got settings there. I'm going to go into that now, if you haven't glazed over already. Right, the camera. First off, I mentioned there's a quick start guide. You do have to download the full manual if you want it. Now there's a QR code here you can scan. You can get free QR code scanners that you can use on your phone, so you could potentially download it to your phone if you want to refer to the manual. I downloaded it to my PC. I'll put a link down below, so you could even print the PDF. Of course you do need a PDF reader, but it's an exceedingly good manual. As you can see here, it absolutely covers everything you'd want to know. The accessories, using the camera, there's everything in it. It's one of the best manuals I've ever seen. So that's the first off. So let's get on and look at the camera. I mentioned it's a complete redesign to anything I've ever seen before. Battery slot in the end, little arrow, as I said, slide it that way, pop the battery in and out. Micro card, I'm using a 64 gig SanDisk Extreme class 10, and as you can see it goes in with the logo away from the front like so. And they say max 64. Cameras can be very fussy about what cards they like, so if I recall they actually recommend a couple of cards that will work. I mentioned on this end you've got a little cover that covers USB-C and the micro USB, where you would also plug in an external mic if you bought one of those. Little speaker. On the top, 2 scrolling buttons and the shutter button. Now just a little insert that I've put in here. I saw on the blurb on Amazon that this apparently has 8x zoom, but it doesn't actually mention how you operate that in the manual. Well, I've been in touch with Akaso and they've told me. So these scrolling buttons on the top too, here, up, down, also activate the 8x zoom, as you can see here. Press and hold, and you see that number scrolling. It's probably out of focus, but it's scrolling up at the bottom. 7, 8. So you can see the difference here looking at this little manual. That's taking in the whole manual. Now if I press the down button, we'll scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. 4, 3, 2, 1. You can see the difference the zoom makes on it. Now I'm sure this will undoubtedly be a digital zoom, which in most cases at 1080 would downgrade the quality of the image or video. But as you've got 4K, when I did a little test with it, the image or video at 4K zoomed in are still actually very usable. So that's useful. Other thing to say is about the zooming buttons, a short press of the up turns the Wi-Fi on for the Wi-Fi app, and a short press turns it off. Right, so let's get on to the next bit. On the front, the power button, and there is an LED that flashes there when it's recording. One little moan, when it's in the case in bright sunlight you can't see that very well, but it's a minor point. And of course on the back you've got a very nice touchscreen. The first thing to say is actually I found the user interface really easy to use, and so just by swiping it and touching a few things you'd probably figure out all the functions. Way too much for me to go into. I'm going to fire it up and show you, but again I shall list it all below, or it's listed in the manual. But getting back to the case, at first I thought it looked a bit plastically, but it's got a really nice feel about it. I've used it for a couple of days now, and it's got this ribbed surface here which makes it very secure in your hands. Some cameras I've tested, and I've mentioned over 50 on my channel, don't feel secure in your hands. You feel you're going to drop it any second, but this actually feels good. Anything else I need to say? Oh, probably the microphone hole there. Right, so let's fire it up. 3 seconds. Plays a little tune. And I mentioned on the back, the touchscreen, it actually says there, preparing SD card. As you can see, I'm in video mode at 4K 30. I'll show you in a second some 4K 30 clip. Now not all cameras actually have gyro stabilization or EIS, and those that do, not many actually have EIS at 4K, but this does. I've made a little test clip showing you how effective the EIS is, where I've compared it with a pretty good budget camera without EIS at 4K, and that's in the test clips. There, as you can see there, the screensaver's kicked in. Touch the shutter once and I'll wake it up. On the top here, I'll touch the screen and you can see I can turn display information on and off. I say it's all pretty obvious really. It's telling me I've got 1 hour 58 and 15 seconds with my 64 gig card at 4K. Of course, different resolutions use different amounts of memory. That's telling me battery state. They don't mention battery life in the manual, but I got 1 hour and 20 minutes recording continuously at 4K, and that would probably improve as time went down, and it would be better if you were recording at 1080-60 because 4K is very processor hungry. That there is obviously playback, which lets you play back through your clips, and that is return, or you can delete. You can scroll through and delete them in the camera. That's obviously return. One question I get asked quite a lot is how you delete or get the pictures or videos from your camera to your computer or your phone. Well, when you plug into your PC, you get this screen come up which says mass storage, PC camera or charge. Now mass storage will allow you to open it and then download the files to your PC, or of course you could put the card in a card reader and do it that way. Plus, although I've not tried it yet, I'd imagine the Wi-Fi app will let you download videos to your phone. If you want to completely clear the camera, go into settings, camera settings, and you've got format. If you format a card, you will absolutely erase everything from it and start from a blank card. So as I mentioned, a number of ways of actually downloading the videos. As you can see, it's pretty intuitive the way you use the screen here. I'm in 4K resolution. If I touch that, I've got a menu here, video setting, video mode, normal. I can't possibly go through all these, but resolution, you've got 4K at 30 with EIS, 2.7, 1440, 30, 60, 1080 at 90, which is unusual, but you've got 1080 at 60, which is a popular action camera resolution, all the way down to 720 at, oh, you've got 720 at 120. The advantage of a higher frame rate is if it's a fast moving action, you get less blur between frames. So that shows you that that's image stabilization on or off. Best to have it on. Distortion calibration probably takes out the fisheye. There's too much to go through. Meter mode, I prefer average myself. White balance, depends whether you want to use it indoors or under tungsten light, I've no doubt. Auto, daylight, cloudy, tungsten, that's indoors. Just leave it at auto and you can't go far wrong. Too much to go through, as I say. Now going through these, video encoding, you can choose H.264, H.265. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Default is 264. Some edit programs, if you're going to do some editing, don't like H.265, so I would stick with 264. You can change the angle of view, wide, medium, narrow, but bear in mind if you do, you lose some resolution, so I'd rather do it in the edit program. Video settings, oh god, where do I go next? I don't know. White balance, meter mode, yeah, I've been there. Of course, the other thing you can do is scroll. You've got a quick start menu there. Wi-Fi on or off. Turning Wi-Fi on. Password 123. I'll go into that in a bit later. Let's come out of that. I won't leave it on. Oh, why can't I get rid of that? Well, press up to close Wi-Fi. Press up. There you go. Press the scrolling button. Quick menu. You've also got screen lock, power off there, and you've got voice control on or off. Now, I've not had any success with voice control. Maybe it's my voice, but there's a list of it in the manual. Akaso video start. And nothing happened. Maybe it's my voice, it doesn't like it, but having said that, I've not seen many cameras where I've found voice control works very well, apart from the Xiaomi YI range. Absolutely brilliant voice control on that, but having said that, it's 2 or 3 times the price. What else have we got there? Let's scroll up, and we've got a really nice menu with icons. As you can see, you've got video or photo, change from video to photo mode. I think I'm still in voice control, yep. The little icon there was telling me I'm in voice control. Icon there showing me that I'm in camera mode, 20 megapixel. Press that and you can change settings in photo mode, resolution, shutter interval, and so on. Now you've also got, back to video there. Incidentally, you can change from video mode to camera mode by swiping the screen. Just play with the camera a bit and you'll figure all this stuff out, but I'll just come back to that. Video settings, photo, camera settings. If you want to use it as a car cam, you might want to mount it upside down, so you can turn it upside down. Scene mode, you've got various things where you can change it and change the colour. You obviously can turn voice control on and off there. Indicator light, whether you don't want that flashing. Driving mode, I haven't tested, but I imagine means if you use it as a dash cam, it will power up when you connect the power, so it will turn on automatically when you start driving. Sorry I have to race through this, but there's just so much to say. Now coming back to video settings, you've got video mode here, driving mode. You've also got time lapse, slow motion. There's a bit of that in my test clips. Stills, loop video, that's obviously for car recording. So play around with this and you'll find, or if you really want to, read the very extensive manual. But I think I've covered everything I can say there, and this is already more than 10 minutes long explaining the camera functions, which is why I've got to rush through it, and probably sounds all a bit fast for you. But check the manual out, it's all in there anyway. If you want to change settings when it's in the case, short pressing of the power button will let you scroll through using the scrolling buttons on the top and the power button, and change settings that way as well. So very comprehensive, might sound complicated, but just touch the screen and it'll be easy. Right, so that's the camera. I think I've said as much as I can say. The remote. There was no pairing necessary. It's just a question of turn the camera on and press the grey button. If it's taking video, you can see that. Press the button again, it's stopped. Press the little red button with the camera symbol on it and it's taken a still. Probably water resistant. It certainly won't be waterproof. I very much doubt it. I've been asked that numerous times, and apart from that I don't think the Wi-Fi signal, the radio signal between this and the camera would actually work underwater, so pretty pointless. But splash proof, so useful if you're windsurfing or kayaking or something. That covers that. What can I say? Battery, external battery charger, just plug it into a USB port and put the batteries in. That's that. Stop waffling. What else can I say? Not a lot. Let's take a look at the Wi-Fi app, and after that you've got the test clips. Well, I went to Play Store, searched Akaso Go and installed it, no problem at all. Fired it up, 3-second press, turned on the Wi-Fi, give it a second or two, turned on the Wi-Fi, short press of the up scrolling button, tells you the password 1234567890. You only need that the first time you install. When I came to connect the camera, it just didn't want to know, and it needs to know your location before it will actually allow it to connect. But basically follow the on-screen instructions, and when it gets to the part that says the app needs to know your location, make sure the location is turned on your phone. Connect camera. As you can see, it's connected, and if I touch record, LED's flashing on the front here and it's recording. Press again, it stopped recording. There's a little slider there, slide it towards take photo and click take photo. That's straightforward enough. Best thing to do with these kind of apps is just explore. So it looks to me like you touch that and you've got gallery, playback, settings up in the corner there. Pretty much change anything that you can change on the camera anyway. Resolution, system settings, screensaver, auto shutdown, date stamp on or off. Yes, you can turn the date stamp off. In fact, default is off anyway. Oh, it shows your remaining battery life, that's useful. Card capacity, format the card. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's try that again. Let's try gallery. So that's all the videos. So you can obviously play them back or download to your phone, as I thought. Pretty straightforward. The good thing about having a Wi-Fi app is if you're out in the field somewhere doing a sport, you can actually review your footage on your phone or your tablet while you're in the middle of nowhere, because all it needs is the connection from the camera to the phone. So that's always handy. Plus the other thing is, it means, say if you wanted to record some wildlife, the range is probably maybe 10 meters or so. You could put this somewhere remote, monitor what's going on, like if it's, in my case, it's wildlife and so on, and then when you see something happening you could take a picture or record video, and you've got a countdown there of the video you're recording. So that's how the app works. To turn off, you could just turn off the camera, disconnect the app, and that's that. So all in all, looks like a good app. And considering I'm on 4K, there's very little lag there between movement and the phone. That's very good. Right, well I hope that was useful. Let's move on. So here are the test clips. Now there's a lot of test clips, and if I was to try and render it all at 4K, the whole of this review would end up to be about 30 gigabytes, so it's just not possible to do. So this review is rendered at 1080, but I will separately render all the clips at 4K and I'll link them separately. So here we go, starting off with some motorbike clips. Now before looking at the motorcycle clips, I get asked on YouTube occasionally how I mount the action camera on my helmet. Now the simplest way would just be to stick one of these sticky pads on the top and slide in the bracket with the camera on it, on the top that way. I prefer to actually mount on the side, and because I review a lot of cameras, I've got one mount stuck on this side and one mount stuck on that side. I can even do two at the same time. Now the way I do that is I use a sliding mount, of course, and two little standoffs, which brings the camera out so it sits out that way on the side, like so. And that works fine for me. The other thing is, I mentioned that it comes with two backs. You've got a ventilated back which helps keep it cool and also gives you better audio, and also stops it fogging up in winter. But of course you can't use that if it's raining. Now the way you change the backs is hold the case this way and there's a slot there, and it's just a question of popping one out, getting the other back and popping it back in. Simple as that. One very small niggle: when it's in the case and you're in bright sunlight, it's a bit hard to see the LED behind there which tells you when it's recording or not, because of course it flashes when you're recording. But one useful thing I did discover was when it's in the case and on my helmet, you can stop start with the remote. No pairing necessary with the remote, you just get it out of the box and use it. You hear the beep there, started recording. Hear the beep again, you've stopped. Or alternatively, click, take a still. You don't have to do anything to go back to video record, just press that and you're straight back into video recording, as you can see. So I thought that was great actually. Anyway, let's take a look at these clips. Well, it's bank holiday weekend on Sunday. Nowhere near as many people on the beach as there would be on a normal bank holiday weekend. Right, this is at 1080-60. Audio is from the camera, and EIS, that's the 6-axis gyro stabilization that this has got, is on. It's one of my favourite test shots because you've got some detail in shade on the bars and cafes and things over there, which are closed because it's locked down. You've got the rigging on the boats, and you've got stuff off into the distance. So it's quite a good test of a camera. Right, well, here's the same scene but in 4K, and bear in mind that the Akaso Brave 6 Plus has got EIS when it's in 4K. But I like to take this shot here because I can zoom in on the restaurant and you can see the difference in definition that you get with 4K. If I zoom in on that restaurant sign there, TJ's Restaurant, you should be able to read it. It's gone a bit overcast. Any second the sun will come out from behind those clouds. Right, here it comes. Okay, so we'll do that little definition test now the sun's come out. I'll zoom in my edit suite at TJ's Restaurant, and let's see what kind of clarity you get on the 4K at a tiny little proportion of the screen. Now, I mentioned it's got 6-axis EIS, gyro stabilization, when it's in 4K. A lot of these budget cameras don't have EIS at 4K. The other camera I've got here is a Seabird, great little camera, and this is 4K with both of them. But just to show you the difference the EIS makes, if I shake the camera around now, it's pretty easy to tell which one has got EIS. And if I'm lucky, I'll try and get out on my mountain bike or something and give you a trip, but I've damaged my knee, and so it's actually pretty difficult walking at the moment, let alone riding about on a mountain bike. But EIS, that's the effect of EIS for you. And of course you've got the EIS at 1080 as well. And here's another view of the harbour. This time we're at 1080-60 frames a second, which to my mind is the most useful and the most popular for shooting action sports. And you've got EIS at that resolution as well. Let's see how well it deals with the transition from light to dark. Whether it goes smoothly. I like this shot too because you've got some shade here and you've got the detail on the bars going way off into the distance down there. Now here's a short clip of me riding down a wooded track on my mountain bike. It's 4K 30 frames a second, EIS is on. Following the clip is a side-by-side comparison of the same camera, 4K EIS on and 4K EIS off. And bear in mind, a lot of budget cameras with 4K don't have EIS at 4K, and I thought the results were very good. To be honest, you get quite a lot of vibration on a handlebar, and I prefer to use a chest mount if I'm riding a mountain bike. Although having said that, the Akaso 6-axis EIS dealt with the vibration really well. But if you buy one of these cameras and do as it says on the little card that's in the packaging, leave an honest review on Amazon and send your details to Akaso, you can get free accessories, which would include an accessory pack which actually has a chest harness. So I'd say that's a very good deal. Anyway, here are the clips. Excuse me. Okay. And this is some audio with the case, camera in the case. This is the open back on the case, by the way. And so here's the side-by-side view, EIS on or off, and I think the EIS is working really well. Excuse me. Okay. Well, that's it for now. That wraps it up. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you found it useful, maybe you'd like to subscribe and give me a like down there. And there's plenty of stuff on my channel to keep you amused when the weather's bad or through lockdown. There's paragliding, paramotoring, sailing, wildlife, radio controlled models, all kinds of stuff. But that's it for now. Stay safe. I'll catch you again soon.